we're the Sladeks. I'm Avery Sladek.
I'm Kate.
I'm Vivi.
And we're here tonight to talk about Brian.
Our dad.
And also how the Widow Parent Relief Project has been an absolute blessing in our lives.
I became a widow on August 27th, 2019. My husband Brian died from secondary infections during his treatment for blood cancer. Brian and I met in high school when we were 14, and we had instant chemistry. We became really good friends, always with a mutual crush on each other, and this went on for years until we were married. His story includes an on-again, off-again battle with blood cancer that spanned 2 decades, and I was with him in a major capacity through each occurrence, as close friends, newlyweds, parents of toddlers, and also new homeowners. The summer of 2019, Bri had a lengthy, horrific hospitalization, and I was living between the hospital and home. Our parents were taking care of the twins when I was with him, and it was during this time that I myself was diagnosed with breast cancer. We used to say, as long as we're together, we can get through anything. It kind of became a mantra, and I truly believe he couldn't possibly be taken from me during my own illness. But it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't God's plan. The day that Brian died, he was about 2 weeks from his 40th birthday. It was just days away from our 12th wedding anniversary, and the kids were 5.5. They were brought to the hospital after school expecting to visit him, not say goodbye. And the whole thing's a blur. But I remember Vivi's face going through this range of emotions and Avery's little body collapsing on my lap as I told them that Daddy's body stopped working. I somehow kept it together at the time. But leaving the hospital, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I recall attempting to walk through the ICU doors after leaving him for the last time, and my thought was, he's never coming home again. To say I was distraught is an understatement. People have asked me over time what widowhood is like for me. Nothing can adequately describe the pain of Bri's absence. Not having him was losing my entire world as I knew it. It's surreal. I found out what it meant to cry your heart out, to feel your heart actually breaking, to experience a sadness so intense that you feel it in your bones. It's this constant heaviness that I felt with every step, every movement, every single breath, and worse, at every wake up. When Bri died, I was 2 rounds into my own treatment, and admittedly, there was this arduous period that I could have cared less about my own cancer. Self-care went out the window. My grief and missing him, it was just all-consuming, and I remember thinking, if I live through this, well, good, I'll be here for the kids. And if not, then I'll be with him again, and that was actually pretty appealing. What people don't see is the crying in the shower, the screaming in the car, trying to grasp anything that was him, sitting in the closet, touching and smelling his clothes, poring over his journals. I couldn't, for a long time, listen to music or watch our TV shows. I couldn't go to certain restaurants or stores or drive most roads. And after the kids were down for the night, I'd veg on the couch for a long time. It became habit just to avoid bed. And eventually I'd fall asleep while half pleading, half chanting, "Help me, God, help me, God, help me, God." And I'd wake up every morning to the tissue-covered floor to face the nightmare all over again, every morning for 5 months straight. That's how it was early on for me. Grief is paralyzing. Widow fog is also a very real thing. It's a coping mechanism where the brain attempts to shield itself from the pain of significant trauma or loss. I constantly felt frazzled and spacey, anxious and preoccupied, indecisive, and that's the short list. In the first year, I was definitely in survival mode. I was taking life an hour at a time, even a minute at a time. The wins were getting out of bed, usually forced by the kids, dressing myself. I was in PJs or his clothes a lot of the time, or even leaving the house, usually for my own appointments or the kids' schedules. But Ave and Viv, they were the most gut-wrenching. I mean, they were grieving too. They were wrapping their little brains around the fact that they would never see their daddy again. In explaining cremation and discussing heaven with 5-year-olds, thank God there are books on this. They were so observant and intuitive and had relentless questions. I felt like I was always on the verge of tears, my patience hanging by a thread. Losing a spouse affects everyone around you. The kids, your parents, your pets, friends, relatives, neighbors, coworkers, classmates. There's an obvious awkwardness or nervousness about how or when to jump in to help, and even what that help looks like. People would ask what we needed or say, please call if I can do anything. But I just felt like a zombie trying to function. And I know that they meant well, but I simply didn't have the energy to talk or to reach out, and I surely couldn't decipher what I needed when. Luckily, in the weeks and months after Brian died, help just seemed to show up. Our parents came over almost daily. Our community had a meal train. Groceries and gas cards were dropped off. Play dates were organized. A landscaping service was arranged. Wine or dessert just showed up on the doorstep. And distant old friends, Siege and Kel, even set up a cleaning service. And year 2 was kind of just existing, which I guess was more than just surviving, but this heavy comprehension of the range of the finalities, especially the struggles of being an only parent, not a single parent, an only parent, taking on both roles 24/7, the overwhelming to-do list, the bills and paperwork, maintaining the house, the cars, hell, the light bulbs. This second year, I found that the agonizing physical pain and constant questioning from the kids had subsided, but there were so many moments or days of feeling numb and uncertain, and sleep remained a terrible challenge. I did recognize that self-care was super important, but it was difficult. I found it near impossible to do anything nice for myself. It just always took a backseat. It was not a priority. And there was also a notable fear regarding my direction and purpose. Should I stay in our home? Should I downsize? Make that job change? I was the only one to make the decisions now, big and small, and it was daunting, and it still is. Currently, I'm 2 years and 8 months out, and life looks different these days, but grief is still a process. I'm neither surviving nor existing, but feel like I've emerged from a heavy fog. I'm making strides to move forward, not on, but forward, and I'm faithful, I'm hopeful, yet still have this kind of lingering overwhelm that I feel like might always be there. When Brian died, I had no idea what I needed or how I was going to survive, much less help Ave and Viv continue to thrive. But there's no doubt in my mind that Bri had a heavenly hand in reconnecting me with the Oricos. And I can't wait to share with you how the support of the Widowed Parent Relief Project has helped save my sanity. And as a result, given my kids more confidence in their mommy and the peace of mind they so desperately need.